John Fetterman has been one of the largest political wildcards of the Senate in the last long time, and I could not have predicted how reasonable and normal he would be in legislating, especially despite having a stroke. He was on Bill Maher's show talking about how progressives have really left him rather than the other way around, and it was fascinating. Take a look.
You said, I'm not a progressive, I'm a Democrat. What does that mean? What is that distinction? Because I don't think I've used the word progressive. I think I've said woke. I think there's a big difference between woke, and I know that word triggers a lot of people because it had a great beginning as a meaning, but words migrate, and it went to something else. I think there's a big difference between an old school liberal and a woke person. You say progressive Democrat. How do you describe this?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like I've just say, and I've been saying that for years, actually. I said that, I didn't leave the label. It left me on that.
Right.
And that really, after it happened on October 7th, I was really knew that that whole progressive stack would be blasted apart, and there's not going to be any kind of way how the Democrats are going to be able to reply to that kind of, or respond to that kind of. And I really decided early on that I believed that was going to be the right side with Israel throughout all of that. And I knew that would going to be Democrats would continue to peel away and kind of walk away from standing with Israel on that. But that's where I decided after.
How do you explain that, if you can, that the people who consider themselves the most liberal have abandoned Israel, which was always a liberal darling, for the people who, a terrorist organization, the people who outwardly say they want a genocide, who outwardly are the one side of this who is against the two-state solution. Somehow they wound up with them. Why do you think that is? And will this split the Democratic Party?
Well, it does, because there's an appeal there, and I think you talk about that. Like last week, you really hit with the gender apartheid.
Yes.
And talking about a lot of these issues, and some of the most progressive and left parts of the Democratic Party are standing, for the kind of side that have. Kinds of organizations like Hamas or these kind of nations that there are no rights for women, and they certainly don't embrace the LGBTQ kinds of lifestyle. And even in Philadelphia, the Queers for Palestine blocked the Pride parade in Philadelphia, and I never saw that on the bingo card, but it's really true.
Okay, so clearly this man has had a stroke. He has a hard time speaking, not even close to what Joe Biden has, by the way. But what he says about Israel especially, it's particularly interesting. He's saying from the beginning, when October 7th happened, he made a kind of a decision that this was wrong and that he was going to stand with Israel no matter what. Obviously barring something crazy, but it's very clear to see that Hamas has made the mistake and that he's pro-Israel and that they're valuable allies in the area since they're the only Western thinking country in the Middle East. The thing that is interesting about that, though, is that his commitment to his beliefs and principles is the reason why progressives are running away from him. When he talks about progressives just leaving him and he just feels like he's standing there, the reason why is because he's committed to those principles. He has pre-thought out his principles, what he believes, what he loves, and he is determined. This is just one example. And again, it doesn't matter what it is, but just for him, he decided Israel is an important ally. It's something I'm going to stand by no matter what. That is something that progressives cannot fathom. They have no limiting principles and no beliefs other than progress. That's what makes you a progressive. Therefore, they eat their own. And you're seeing this right now in the Democrat Party, especially as it comes to Israel. You're seeing kind of the split, which Bill Maher and him talk about, where you have almost the young of the progressives eating their elderly, which is like Joe Biden, who's kind of played this centrist attitude towards Israel. He's trying to appease both sides, which we know in politics never works, but he's trying to play both sides. And you see that the young progressives absolutely despise Joe Biden and the older progressives because they're not progressive enough. And this is what happens time and time again. That's why being a leader of progressives is so difficult, because there's no limitations. There's really nothing to fall back on, because even if you say that progressives could fall back on, say, civil rights or human rights, what are those rights? Because 20 years ago, those looked very different than today. And what we're going to find in 30 years from today is progressives are going to look at Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and even like the really extreme ones like AOC. They're going to look at them and be like, wow, they were so evil and traditional and conservative. They're not even going to be good enough for them in the future. And so not only do we see that throughout history, but we see that in real time, where you're seeing college students that are literally eating their leaders alive because they just crave progress so far beyond what their leaders are able to give them. And because John Fetterman has actual principles and he's actually sticking to what he believes, progressives can't even fathom that, and they're moving away. So being a leader is hard in a way for when you're working with progressives. And I have to admit this as well. I was wrong about Fetterman in many ways. Make no mistake, he's no conservative, but he has voted for immigration laws that didn't go through. I'm talking about like border laws, trying to actually secure the border. He's talked about how crazy it is. He's also co-sponsored legislation that was very pro-farmer. So, you know, again, no conservative. I would much rather have a conservative in there than him, but he was nothing like I was expecting. I mean, when he walked in with the sweatshirt and, you know, the pant and, you know, like the nasty shorts that all the 12-year-olds wear, I was really expecting like the most crazy progressive guy ever, but I was totally wrong. This man has some beliefs. Again, I don't agree with hardly any of them, but again, I can work, and I think this is how most people feel. I can work with someone who has beliefs, and we can have a dialogue back and forth on why those beliefs might be the same or different. But if you just believe that we should just keep progressing into oblivion, I don't even know how I'm supposed to have a conversation with you, because even you are admitting that what you're saying now won't be accepted in 30 years. And so what's the point of even doing it? But John Fetterman is not that way. So I pegged him wrong. Again, I would take a conservative over him any day, but I applaud the fact that he's actually genuine. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please go down below, comment, like, and subscribe, and watch another video.